Level 1, the prospect. You don't apply to the Special Activities Center, they find you. You're sitting in a windowless room at a nondescript office park in Northern Virginia, or maybe a safe house outside of Bragg. You've already done the standard elite path. You were a SEAL Team 6 operator, a Delta Force breacher, or a Marine Raider with 3 combat Vs on your chest. You thought you were the tip of the spear, but now you realized you were just a handle. Across from you sits a man in a polo shirt and khakis who looks like a middle manager at a logistics firm, except his eyes don't move when he talks. He knows your credit score, your ex-wife's maiden name, and the exact moment you realize the official mission in Kunar province was a lie. He offers you a job that doesn't exist for an agency that will disavow your corpse to do things that would make a senator lose their lunch. You say yes because you've spent your whole life becoming a predator and you don't know how to be a civilian. You sign a standard Form 4414, but you know the real contract is written in the silence between you. You are now Title V. You are no longer a soldier governed by the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You are an instrument of the president's finding. You go home, tell your family you're contracting for a private security firm, and watch the light in your spouse's eyes dim just a little more. They've heard that lie before. You spend the next 6 months in the farm, but not the one the tourists think of. You're at Harvey Point, learning how to rig a car to explode with household chemicals and how to disappear in a city where you don't speak the language. You are being stripped of your military posture. You have to learn to walk like a tourist, look like a businessman, and kill like a ghost. You are the lowest rung on the most secret ladder in the world. You have no rank, no badge, and if you fail the final stress test, a 72-hour interrogation simulation where they use your own childhood traumas against you, you simply go back to your old unit and pretend this never happened. You're a ghost in training. Level 2, the specialized reconnaissance element. You passed. You're now a thin thread in the field. You aren't kicking doors yet. You're the guy making sure the door's unlocked when the strike team arrives. You spend 4 months in a Tier 3 country living in a flat that smells like diesel and stale cigarettes. Your job is pattern of life. You sit in a parked van with a thermos of lukewarm coffee and a high-gain directional microphone. You track a mid-level financier for a proxy militia. You know what time he brushes his teeth, which mistress he prefers on Tuesdays, and the fact that he has a nut allergy. You aren't a person, you're a sensor. You're learning the tradecraft of the dead drop and the brush pass. You learn to spot a tail in a crowded bazaar without ever breaking stride. The tactical reality is grueling and boring. It's 20 hours of stillness for 10 seconds of data. You use a BlackBerry that has been gutted and rebuilt with encrypted burst transmission hardware. You carry a Glock 19 with the serial numbers acid etched off, and a suicide pill that is actually just a high-concentration cyanide capsule disguised as a molar filling, though they tell you that's purely theatrical to see if you flinch. You're becoming an expert in the mundane. You realize that the most dangerous men in the world don't wear camouflage, they wear dusty suits and drive beat-up Toyotas. You're starting to lose the ability to have a normal conversation. When you call home, you find yourself analyzing your wife's tone for deceptive indicators. You aren't just working for the agency, you're starting to think like them. You move to the next level because you successfully placed a GPS beacon on a moving vehicle in a high-threat zone without the driver ever knowing you existed. Level 3, the Paramilitary Operations Officer, POO. Now you're in the ground branch. This is the sharp end. You're no longer just watching, you're acting. You're deployed to a denied area, a place where the US military isn't allowed to be. You're wearing local clothes, growing a beard that's matted with dust, and carrying an AKMS because 5.56 brass would leave a signature. You are the advisor. You're embedded with a group of Kurdish rebels or Libyan dissidents. You are the one who decides who gets the pallets of cash and the crate of Stinger missiles. You are a kingmaker in a valley that doesn't appear on any map. The tactical reality is unconventional warfare. You're teaching men who can't read how to use laser designators. You're coordinating broken arrow strikes from a laptop in a cave. You see the immediate impact of your work. A village liberated, a warlord eliminated. You feel like a god. But then the cost beat hits. You get a message on your encrypted link. The policy has changed. The rebels you've been living with, the men who shared their bread with you and called you brother, are being deprioritized. You're ordered to extract. You have to look your local commander in the eye, the man whose son you helped treat for a fever, and tell him supplies are coming when you know the C-130s are never taking off. You fly out on a graybird flight, watching the village burn from the small oval window. You realize you aren't a hero, you're a tool. Tools don't have friends, they have applications. You transition because you didn't hesitate to leave them behind. Level 4, the targeter. You've seen the mud, now you see the board. You're brought back to Langley, to the Counterterrorism Center. You're a high-value target specialist. You don't carry a rifle anymore, you carry a deck. You sit in a room with 12 monitors correlating SIGINT, HUMINT, and satellite imagery. You are the architect of the kill chain. You find the invisibles. You track a target through 7 different countries through a web of shell companies and burner phones. You're the one who finds the one mistake a terrorist made 3 years ago, a single login to a gaming forum, and you pull that thread until his whole world unravels. The tactical detail is F3EAD. Find, fix, finish, exploit, analyze, disseminate. You spent 18 hours a day staring at grainy predator feeds. You see the target playing with his children in a courtyard in Waziristan. You see him kiss his wife. And then you pick up the red phone and authorize the Hellfire strike. You watch the screen turn white, then gray, then thermal black. You see the heat signatures of the survivors running. You don't feel a rush of adrenaline. You feel a hollow ache in your chest. You've killed a man from 8,000 miles away while sipping a diet soda. You go home and try to play blocks with your own son, but all you can see is the thermal image of that courtyard. You're becoming a ghost who kills other ghosts. You move up because your attrition rate for targets is the highest in the division. Level 5, the case officer, covert action. You're back in the field, but this time you're the puppet master. You're undercover as a State Department attaché or a commercial consultant. Your life is a theater production. You spend your nights in 5-star hotels in Dubai or back alleys in Istanbul, recruiting assets. You find the man with a gambling debt, the general with a bruised ego, or the scientist who wants a better life for his daughter. You use the MICE framework: money, ideology, compromise, and ego. You are a professional manipulator. You make people believe you are their best friend while you are systematically destroying their lives to serve your country's interests. The tactical reality is the safe house meeting. You spend hours sweeping a room for bugs, setting up emergency exfiltration routes, and handing over L-pills or encrypted drives. You are the one who handles the dirty assets, the people the US would never publicly acknowledge. You realize that your entire social life is a lie. Every friend you have is a contact. Every date is a potential lead. You've forgotten who the real you is. You find yourself checking the underside of your own car for IEDs before taking your daughter to soccer practice. You're becoming a ghost who kills other ghosts. You move up because your attrition rate for targets is the highest in a division. You've lost the ability to trust anything that isn't encrypted. You transition to the next level when you successfully flip a high-ranking foreign minister, knowing his execution is certain if you ever slip up. Level 6, the Chief of Station, COS. You're the Duke of a whole country. You sit in the embassy, the only person the ambassador is actually afraid of. You manage the black budget for the entire region. You are the bridge between the suits in DC and the scumbags in the field. You spend your days in high-level briefings and your nights reviewing disbursement reports for clandestine operations. You're responsible for the lives of every officer and asset in your AOR, area of responsibility. The tactical reality is risk management. You have to decide if a piece of intel is worth the 40% chance of your lead officer being caught and tortured. You have to sign off on enhanced interrogation protocols in black sites that officially don't exist. You're the one who has to tell the director that a deniable operation just went very, very public. The cost beat is your soul. You've authorized things that would be considered war crimes if they happened in a uniform. You've traded the lives of small people for large geopolitical wins. You look in the mirror and you don't see a patriot. You see a monster in a tailored suit. Your wife has finally left you. She said she couldn't live with a man who wasn't there even when he was sitting at the dinner table. You didn't even try to stop her. You just wondered if her new boyfriend was a foreign intelligence plant. You transition because you can handle the weight of the secrets without breaking. Level 7, the Deputy Director for Operations, DDO. You are the head of the service. You sit on the 7th floor of Langley. You're the one who briefs the president in the Oval Office. You don't deal with individual targets anymore. You deal with theaters. You're moving pieces on a global chessboard. You're deciding which regimes to topple and which revolutions to fund. You are the gatekeeper of the deep state. The tactical reality is plausible deniability. Your job is to make sure the president can honestly say, "I had no knowledge of that," while you carry out his unspoken desires. You use compartmentalization like a shield. You know everything, but you officially know nothing. You've reached the pinnacle of power, but you're more trapped than ever. You can't travel to most countries. You can't speak to the media. You are a shadow inhabiting a marble palace. You realize that the agency isn't a building, it's a living organism that consumes the people who serve it. You've sacrificed your family, your morals, and your identity for a stability that seems more fragile every day. You move to the final level because there's nowhere else to go. Level 8, the senior fellow or consultant. You're retired, but you never really leave. You sit on the boards of defense consulting firms and think tanks. You're a distinguished guest at Georgetown dinners. You have a pension in a nice house in Great Falls, but you can't sleep. You spend your nights staring at the wall, thinking about the faces of the people you left behind in that burning village, the assets who were executed because you deprioritized them, and the targets you killed while eating a sandwich. You see the news and you see the next conflict brewing, and you know exactly which 25-year-old kid is sitting in a windowless room right now being recruited for the job you started. Level 9, the cycle. You're at a bar in Crystal City. You see a young guy sitting in the corner, nursing a beer. He's got the look, the high and tight haircut, the Oakleys on his head, the restless energy of a man who's been trained to kill and has nowhere to put it. You see a man in a polo shirt walk up to him. He looks like a middle manager. He sits down. He starts talking. You see the young guy's eyes light up. He's looking for purpose. He's looking for belonging. He thinks he's about to become a hero. He has no idea that he's just the next thin thread. He has no idea what it's going to cost him. He leans in. He says yes. The cycle begins again. That's a wrap. The story is fiction, but the reality of Title 50 special activities and the psychological toll of clandestine service is real. If this made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more.